A story broken by the Herald Sun over the weekend. Listen to this one. Parents split over the issue of child gender transitioning have reached agreement after medical evidence not to allow the child to take puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones until the child is at least 16 years of age. Now, what lessons are there in this case for others? Philip Morris AM is a psychiatrist and president of the National Association of Practising Psychiatrists, and he joins me now. Dr. Morris, welcome. For people at home who may not have read the case over the weekend, it was heard in the Federal Circuit and Family Court over the last 10 days. The lawyer for one of the parents, the parent who was opposed to their child using puberty blockers, lawyer Bill Cordos, said the gender clinic involved should be disbanded. He said, and I quote, "It's an industry. We need an urgent public hearing into this. Do you agree? Do we need an inquiry?"
Thanks, Peter, for the opportunity to speak with you and your viewers tonight. Of course we do. We've been asking for this for about 3 years. We started our campaign to get the previous federal government, Minister for Health, Greg Hunt, to look into an inquiry into the treatment of gender dysphoria in children and adolescents back in 2019, I think. He was dissuaded by the College of Physicians, who said, we shouldn't have an inquiry because it might have upset people, and there's been nothing since. But this area of medicine is very complex. It's controversial. The treatments that some doctors put forward are diametrically opposed to the treatments that other doctors put forward. So it is an area where we need to have a really deep look at what's going on and to see what's the most effective treatments, because there's a lot of dispute.
There was also another report in the papers over the weekend that in the last 8 years we've seen a 10-fold increase in young people presenting at public clinics. We don't know the numbers from GPs and private clinics, public clinics alone, with issues of gender dysphoria. Are we sometimes at risk of treating what is a mental health issue at the time as an issue of gender dysphoria and getting ourselves into a position where we're medicalising and perhaps removing forever the fertility of young people because we've got this wrong?
Definitely. I mean, one of the things that's been happening over the past few years, and this is why I think the inquiry is so important, is that overseas they've recognised that this condition cannot be just seen by itself. It usually is embedded in a child or an adolescent with multiple other problems, psychiatric, social, family, and the idea that you can just take out one section and then put the young person on drugs that are going to affect their fertility, affect their sexual satisfaction and ability to achieve sexual satisfaction, and affect their other health, their bone structure, their bone growth, a range of things, including possibly the way that their mind develops when it's developing in a body that's not got the hormones that they've been programmed with based on their sex. So all these things are very, very important, and that's another reason why we need to have a proper inquiry into this.
You're an expert doctor in this area. I'm not. I just don't understand where something as fundamental as our sexuality and gender, we get two opinions when there's a medical contention, where there's something drastic that we're told by one doctor. We don't want to believe it, perhaps we get a second opinion, but we're not allowed to even debate these issues, let alone put two doctors together and nut something out in favour of the child.
Well, I think one of the things, we can't talk too much about the case that was before the family court because of the restrictions involved. But one of the things there was that was the first time, I think, that the case for or the case against putting a young child on puberty blockers was actually articulated. So that's something that's happened that hasn't happened before. And that's a bit of progress. Yes, clearly it's frustrating when you've got one side of the medical profession saying we should do this and the other side saying we should do that. But surely we should be able to get together and openly and in an adult way, without sort of screaming at each other, discuss what's the best way forward. Our way forward is been outlined on our National Association of Practising Psychiatrists website. We've got a thing there called the Guide to the Treatment of Gender Dysphoria in Children and Adolescents. We've set out what we think is a reasonable, cautious, compassionate, but evidence-based approach. And we'd be happy to discuss that, debate that with other people who've got different perspectives at any time in the future.
Dr. Philip Morris, hard to disagree with that. Thank you for your time. It's good that we're actually having a conversation with medicos on this issue. More and more needs to happen.